Howdy, my friends. Welcome into this week's episode of Forte Catholic. I'm so glad that you are here. Chris Bartlett joins me as guest co-host today. He's back. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know he shows up a few times a year. We have a great conversation about his new role at a place that I used to work. We talk a little bit about the work that they are doing now. We also have a conversation about Catholic school kids versus youth ministry kids and how my perspective might have shifted a little bit than it used to be in the last 10 years or so. And we also talk about bullying and the response to being bullied and what we do about that as adults. We hope that you enjoy today's conversation. If you do, please hit that subscribe button over on our YouTube channel or wherever you are listening to this. Enjoy today's show. Hello there. I'm Taylor Schroll, and that is Christopher Leandro Bartlett. Hello, Chris.
Hello, friend. How are you, Taylor?
I am doing very well. So you have gained some new and greater importance, which got you invited back onto the show. That's the only reason that you are here. But we're not going to talk about that yet. That's a tease for later in the show.
Just listeners, just salute me now. That's all I got to say.
Exactly. He's very fancy now, even though he has a title that he doesn't deserve, which means you finally fit on this show because I, too, have a title that I don't deserve. Is it
Child of God by grace and mercy alone?
I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. You know that one?
Yeah, I just, worship isn't worship unless it's really breathy. So I love that version of it.
I need to growl. I need to make, the Lord is a Lion of Judah, and I'm trying to be just like him. I'm trying to roar my praises.
Yes, preach.
So,
preach.
I started this conversation with Father Anthony on last week's episode, and then we didn't get to it because we started talking about other things, and then we hit the hour mark. I'm like, well. And then we just didn't fix it. We just kind of left it hanging there. So we're going to start with it today. And actually, you are the perfect person to talk about this subject with for two reasons. Because it involves Rocket League, which is something that you and I have in common, and also bullying. We were both bullied as children, and you've shared that before. You were bullied by the boys. I was bullied by the girls because they knew that I was a nice enough person that I wasn't going to hit them. I was bigger than all the boys, so they didn't mess with me. So you and I had a similar but also very different childhood.
I was bullied by people that looked like you. Yes.
Yeah, and here's the overall scope. I'm going to tell a story about my son and how I think he is turning out exactly like me, for better or for worse. I was watching him play Rocket League the other day, and he did something, and I'm like, that's exactly what I would have done. Uh-oh.
Nice. Okay, I'm excited.
Because I think what has happened, the premise of this is I think because I was bullied, I learned pretty quickly how to be sad. That was the first thing that happened. I was sad because all the girls were mean to me in junior high. And then in ninth grade, I got a 6-pack, and all of a sudden they were all very nice to me. I don't understand what happened, but you also were bullied. But I think what happened to me is that after I got sad, I got very quick-witted in order to fight back against the bullies, right? But I think I learned these skills of protection to protect myself. And then I got large and a little bit more popular, but I kept the quick wit. And I think I might have turned into the bully. I think I might be a bully currently. So what were your mechanisms to fight against the bullying, or did you just continue to lose?
Yeah, no. So if it got physical, I would lose. But I was fast, so I could outrun a few people. I remember one day at middle school, they had this period that was like lunch, but then you scarfed down your lunch in 12 seconds, and there was a field and then a lower field that went down to the track. And I had these 4 guys that were chasing me, and occasionally they would chase me and they would give me Indian burns or whatever you're supposed to call it now, where they would hurt you, cause you pain or whatever.
Native American heat.
Yes. But 4 against 1, flaming tacos on the arm, whatever. But But 4-against-1,
I think you made it worse.
I certainly do. I regret and withdraw my last comment, dear America. They were chasing after me, and I was fast, so I would run. And I think that was part of the fun, is that I was hard to catch and I would make chase. But they were gaining on me, and I ran down the hill. And then I just stopped. I slid on my tush, and then I turned around and I started running back up the hill. Well, the momentum of them chasing me carried them straight down the hill, and they ran past me as I was running back up the hill. And it's one of my favorite bullying memories. I have a lot of not favorite bullying memories.
I was about to say, this sounds like the one time you got away.
This is the one time I got away. So while that wasn't normally my experience, that's the experience I care to share on your show today.
Well, very good. Very good. So I'm going to get one bad one out of you. I promise you that I will. So we've played Rocket League before, and essentially in Rocket League, you can type whatever you want, but for the most part, me, you, my son, we're playing on console, which means we don't have a keyboard at the ready. Like you'd have to type like our parents type. Like you have to like scroll
T9.
the click.
Yeah.
Scroll the clicker over to one letter and then scroll all the way down, and then you're in the middle of the game. So like for the most part, we're not typing. So we're using this thing called Quick Chat, where essentially there are 4 times 4. So that's 16 options that are pre-programmed. You can kind of tailor them to whatever you want. I know you've picked some of your favorites that you use. But one of the most basic ones is like, there's like one that says like, nice shot. Rocket League is car soccer. If you know what soccer is, it's soccer, but you drive a car instead of playing as a person. Don't think of it too hard. It's just soccer, right? So you can say, nice shot, great pass, I'm open, take the shot. But the most common one used in a derogatory way, and it's just understood by the community, is
to be the big fat middle finger. What a save!
What a save! Exactly. So what Rocket League intended it for it to be is when you get a save, you actually get as many points as you do when you score a goal. Like it's a big deal to get a save, right? You get these 50 points. If you get an epic save, it's like 70 or 80. Like you get a lot of points. So that's what the Quick Chat was made for. Was what a save.
An affirmation.
Absolutely. But how is it used, Christopher?
Sarcastically, whenever you score on someone, you type in what a save, what a save, what a save 3 times. Because if you go 4, they pause you and they say, Quick Chat has been paused for the next 3 seconds. So you type it in 3 times, and it's your big way of saying, neener, 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 I scored a goal on you.
And I like how we're already differentiating ourselves because, you know, you're the one standing up against the bullies. You'll say, what a save, what a save, what a save. And then you said you stop after the 3 seconds. I am pushing it the entire 3 seconds until it lets me say it again. And I end up saying it as many times as possible until the ball is snapped. And if it's not a close game, and like, let's say Chris is on my team, I'm saying it to the other team the whole time. I'm just sitting back there letting Chris play. And I'm just like, you know, sitting in the goal in case they get close. You know, Chris is pretty good. He's handling his own business. I'll say what a save 80 times in the next like 3.5 minutes. And then when the game ends, I'm saying what a save over and over again. It's like you can't cuss in the game. Like it bleeps it out. It puts like asterisks in if you cuss. Even if you say something that's not cussing, but it like has a cuss word in it. Like if you were like, oh, you took me to class instead of school, it would take out the word class. So it just say, you took me to asterisk.
Star.
That looks way worse than class ever did, you know? But like,
Yep.
But, okay. So I think people kind of get what's happening here, right? The other way that you can do it, you mentioned when you score on somebody else, but I would also do it to my teammates like yourself. Me and you are playing 2-on-2 against 2 people that we don't know. And so you miss a save that you absolutely should have had. And what am I saying 3 times in a row? What a save, what a save, what a save. Because I'm like, Chris, you suck. You absolutely should have gotten it. Like, you know, somebody makes a great shot. I'm not going to say it, right? But if you accidentally drive forward instead of backwards and you miss a ball going 2 miles an hour, you're getting 3 what a saves from me and maybe not.
And this is where we enter the gray area of bullying, right? Because like it's my friend Taylor ribbing me a little bit, kind of elbowing me, hey dude, come on, you should have had that. And I'm like, yeah, I totally should have. I'm a doofus. And guys talk to each other like that. But like, that's different than when some stranger scores a goal and all of a sudden is like, this is the appropriate time to go ahead and lift the digital middle finger towards me by saying what a save 13 times in a row. Like that, like just get back to the game. But when you do it to me, I'm like, yes, I know, Taylor. Oh my gosh. And our buddy Doug, who skill level is a growth area.
As good
let's
as
say.
anyone listening who's never heard of the game.
pretty almost. Yeah.
Oh,
So
he's almost as good as you.
Almost as good. Yeah. But he can roll with it, and he has such a way to just let it just roll off of him to where he's like, yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, I'm the worst, blah, blah, blah. And he's so much fun to play with because he can take the jabs. Sorry. He's got such a good sense of humor when you're playing with him because of that reality. And so even then our friendship is almost strengthened by kind of poking the bear, so to speak, but not when it's the stranger on the other team. That enrages me.
Right. But even taking it a little further, right? Like if you and I, like, because we also have these headsets on, so like I don't need to be using the quick chat. I'm using it mostly to be funny, right? Like when it's me and you, I'm mostly being funny, and like typically with the other team, I'm being funny unless they were mean to me first. If they were mean to me first, that's when I'm saying what a save 80 times when we're winning, because it's like you started it, I'm finishing it. Like that's that's essentially how this is going, right? But even amongst friends, like I have had arguments with friends in Rocket League. Let's say we've been playing together for an hour, and you miss one save that's an easy one. It's like we both laugh at it because like we both know that you're better than that. We both know that you made a stupid, you clicked the wrong thing, whatever, right? But if you have 6 or 7 like that, I might actually start being like, dude, what the hell? Like I want to win, and then you're getting upset at me because I'm getting upset at you. And like these things have happened before, right? So it's like I can do the one action, and we both agreed that it was funny, and it's this light ribbing, 5 minutes in. But if I'm doing the same thing an hour in, and we've been dealing with it for an hour, that's when it starts to become like, okay, you talked about the gray area. Like I might actually be bullying now, and I have to deal with this quite a bit, right? Where it's like I'm ribbing, I was fine with it, you were fine with it, but an hour in, hour and a half in, maybe not,
right?
So I'm watching Chris. My 11-year-old playing Rocket League, and I'm sitting like I think I'm eating lunch on our sofa. He's playing on this other screen right here. So like I'm watching a show, and then my show ended. So I just glanced down real quick to see how he was doing in Rocket League, right?
Sure.
And sure enough, what a save! What a save! What a save!
He's saying that
my son is doing it to the guy that he just scored on. And I look down, and it's like, I can't do anything but laugh hysterically. I start laughing. He realizes that I'm no longer watching my comedy TV show because it's paused. He realizes pretty quickly that I'm laughing at him, and he turns around and he smiles. He's like, what? I'm like, I can't get mad at you because like he absolutely learned that from watching me play.
Yes. Yeah. You're a horrible father.
Oh, yeah, thank you. That's what I was waiting for.
I'm like, how do I say this tenderly? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to say it tenderly. No, there's a danger, man. Like, it's funny, but then you're like, oh, I can't. Because sometimes, like, my youngest son, was getting picked on by his little sister. And finally, he just pushed her away. And I was like, you know what? Because I saw how it went down, she deserved some sort of a reaction. She was going for a reaction. She got a reaction. She's crying, and she comes and is like, oh, he pushed me, blah, blah, blah. I saw it. She wasn't hurt. And I didn't get my son in trouble. I was like, yeah, you were kind of asking for it. You know what I mean? I know that sounds weird to say, but like there is an element to where, and I don't know if that was bullying or just siblings or whatever. There is a certain element of reaction that is appropriate at times. Like you said, when they started texting the what a save to you, you're like, okay, now we're going to destroy you guys, and we're going to stick your nose in it all along the way. But unprovoked, it does feel kind of like a jerk move when I'm on the receiving end of it, which is why we haven't played Rocket League in a while.
Right. Yeah, that's the reason. So,
that's the sole reason.
The sole reason. So it was funny. I asked him about it after the game was over. He was like, that guy said it first, and I hit the game-winning goal on him. So I'm going to say it. I'm like, okay.
Okay,
like,
so
fine.
it was the lane.
The
lane that we agree with.
So it was really funny just to kind of see him and to kind of talk through it with him and to laugh. It was just so funny because it's like I saw him doing what I did, but like I think mine does go back to like I do that kind of stuff because the bullying bothers me because I was bullied when I was a kid, right?
Sure,
but I am I'm using that as an excuse, even though I'm 20 years removed from it, right? Maybe even more, right? So it's like some of that, like the child, like it's this weird thing, like, childhood trauma, whatever your childhood trauma is. Everybody talks about it, where it's like, okay, we can't completely dismiss our childhood trauma, but we can't not do anything about it either, or not change. Like I can't blame every time that I've bullied somebody on, the girls in 6th and 7th and 8th grade. Like it's not their fault. At some point it's mine. Right. But there's this balance, and it's kind of hard to actually like know in myself where to find that balance. And it's especially difficult to talk about it, which is why we're having this private conversation about it, So
Yes.
It's just this weird thing of like, I see people all the time doing the like, oh, but I had this happen to me as a kid, or I whatever. And it's just like, I'm 34. Like at some point I have to take ownership for my own actions. And yet I still know where this came from, where these quote unquote muscles of, quick wittedness and standing up for myself were honed. And that was during that season. So I don't know. I've just been kind of thinking about it.
Well, and if you look at the other side of the coin, which is me, because I got bullied a lot, and I hope that I haven't turned into a bully at times because of it, but there is a certain element of how far outside the lines can you draw before someone's like, dude, you're not even coloring anymore, and correct it. I was coaching a soccer team, and it's a kids soccer team, like U8, U7, whatever. It's just kids. Every player shows up wearing shin guards and cleats, and one kid shows up wearing boots, like thick boots. And I'm like, okay, this will correct itself, because the other kids on the soccer team will be like, hey, why are you wearing boots? You're not supposed to wear boots. Or worse, hey, dork in the boots. You know what I mean? I don't know. The kids don't say dork, whatever they say, but they didn't say anything. You know what corrected it is blisters. Blisters corrected the issue. But nevertheless, there is a certain aspect of, I was quick-witted and I ran my mouth quite a bit. And my station in the hierarchical popularity was pretty low, to where I probably shouldn't have been running my mouth because of the way the pecking order worked. But I ran my mouth, and every now and then it led to a consequence that could definitely be defined as bullying. I'm not saying that I deserved all of it, but there's some times where I ran my mouth and the appropriate reaction was to respond with force, So
all right, it's Christopher Bartlett story time. Here we go.
Oh, wow. No, that's not. No.
Yep. Example time.
There have been times there. Okay. So there was this, there's this one time that we got bullied. This is actually kind of funny. My brother and I.
Okay.
We had kind of the poor kid bikes. All the other kids are having Huffies and things like that. We have these road bikes that my parents got off of like a garage sale for like $8 a piece. They literally have different things that have whatever. It's just a road bike. And I ended up going to get my bike. I stayed after school at middle school for a little bit, and all of my pieces were taken off. So I'm like, dang it. And I had to put all the pieces back on. And then as I'm walking my bike out, I see a pile of screws on the ground, and I'm like, huh. So I pick up that pile of screws and I throw it over the fence to the junkyard that's behind us. And I'm like, haha, to whoever that is. And I get home, and there my brother is after walking his bike home, because all the screws got taken from his bike and he didn't find them. And so I was like, being the tough guy, whatever. I accidentally bullied my brother by destroying his bike permanently by throwing his screws over to the front yard. But have you ever heard the phrase, to go a little bit more deep, hurt people hurt people?
I have, but before we move on, that story ended way differently than I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be you having this big moment. I thought you were going to pay the price, not your brother. That would have been hilarious. I thought you threw the screws over and then realized pretty quickly 3 feet later when you got on your bike that they were to your bike, and like all the wheels went everywhere and the handlebars went everywhere. That's how I thought it was going to happen, and it made me happy, which I think proves my point that I have become the bully.
Yeah. But the hurt people one. There was someone was mouthing off as I was walking home from that same middle school. Someone was mouthing off to me, and so I shouted back something back to him, and he was with his group of friends. Now, him and I were on soccer teams as kids, so it wasn't a big deal for us to rib each other a little bit, but because he was in front of his other friends, he had to do a display of strength, and he came and clocked me one good. And it knocked one of my teeth loose. I was able to push it back in place and hold it there and whatever. So it worked out. We didn't have to go to the dentist or anything like that. But
is that how teeth work?
Huh?
Is that how teeth work?
It loose, not out. Knocked it loose. It was wiggly. What? I was 12. I'm not a dentist.
Screws from the junkyard to put it back in.
I should have just used them screws, and I would have had myself a free can opener. But then, so my dad calls his dad and says, "We need to sit down and talk about this. It's not acceptable to clock for these boys to be clocking each other like that or whatever." And so, like 4 days later, we go to his house, and we get there, and the boy is nowhere to be found. And the dad is cleaning blood off his knuckles. And it was the most awkward 7-minute conversation. I assure you, my son won't do that again. You can hear him whimpering in the background, like in the whatever room. And then we got in the car and my dad looked at me and said, "Son, that boy did not hit you. His father did. And that sometimes is what happens." And we drove home. And it was a perspective that the kid wasn't a jerk. His situation was a jerk, and some perspective. So I know this is a more uplifting Catholic comedy show, so I'll pass it back to you to recover from that story. Got way too heavy, way too quick, but there's your heavy story.
Now I'm mad at that kid because he had a reason. Like, what's my reason? I think I'm still stuck as a bully and my dad's not currently punching me. I don't know what's happening.
You said the girls, they broke you, and so you had to break someone else to reclaim your manhood.
Yeah, so I might have told this story with you. We talked about bullying, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. You and I did. I might have told the story. So, but whatever, who remembers from 3 years ago? So the main girl that bullied me in 7th and 8th grade, she ended up working at like my primary care doctor's office, like as an intern. So like, it was very funny for me to walk in. I was in college. I was a college athlete. I walked in. I was in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
And like, she's the intern. She was doing, getting like my height and weight and like measurements, I guess. So like, for whatever reason, I had to take my shirt off, and I took my shirt off in front of her. Like, I looked pretty good. So it's like, yeah. I kind of did get I didn't bully her back. I didn't say like, look at me now. But I kind of stood there like, I win. It's fine, Yeah. So that was a good moment for me. If only I would have stopped there.
In my darkest of days, Facebook stalking does provide a lot of consolation. If you really want to feel good about yourself, you can look up some of your bullies on social media and see that the hand that they dealt was one that they might have experienced the fruits of their labors. So, yeah.
The person that I bully the most, though, is me, because I also Facebook stalk, but it's like me. I posted a picture today of me from 15 years ago. I looked incredible. That's the worst. I'm my worst own bully, and I think that's part of the problem. You're like, hurt people. I can't blame the sixth grade girls anymore, but I can blame myself. There's no one meaner to me than me. So then people are like, "Why are you being so mean to me?" I'm like, "There's this guy bullying me constantly."
You look so much taller. And I'm like, wait, he's the same height. I don't get it. So,
I don't get why he hates me so much. He's just like me.
He's just the same me. Yeah,
exactly. So anyway, that was just some introspective on, there is this like big desire in me to stand up for myself whenever I'm wronged. But I think every now and then I've gotten a little carried away, and to the point of like trying to be funny. And it's like I get on a roll, and the first, let's say a roll is like 5 or 6 jokes. The first 4 or 5, everybody was cool with. And then if I'm in a group of 10 people, 5 people stop laughing after the 6th, and 7 people are done laughing by the 7th. And
go to 10, you can get it back. You can win it back, Taylor.
Exactly. So I don't know. They're just doing some introspecting on that, and like what my son did was fine. I think it's freaking hilarious, honestly. But it's like what's his background story? Are you being bullied by 6th grade girls currently in 6th grade? Because he's there now.
and is there a moment of redemption in the moment? Because I think for both of us, we can look back and see that the moment of redemption for us is the fact that we're not still being bullied by it. Like I've grown past that part, but it was middle school was brutal. I hear about my wife had a great time in middle school. She's like, it was so much fun. I'm like, where did you go? Who were you? Like, this doesn't make sense.
Oh, she was probably one of the pretty girls at my school bullying me. That's probably where she was.
I was busy picking on Taylor.
She had a tremendous time.
Yeah. So, but the fact that, because there were some years all the way throughout a lot of young adulthood where a lot of insecurities came from some of the wounds that bullying had caused, and they're not there anymore. So there is redemption. But for our own children, we want that redemptive moment to be in the moment. Like, okay, let's, and I don't know if we're better equipped to be able to do that, or we've seen the other side, son, and you can get there quicker. Let's go ahead and go talk to Jesus. Or if there does need to be a bit of a journey, a little bit of a road to Emmaus to make that a reality.
Very good. Little redemption. Hopefully there's some for me waiting down the road. We're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how fancy you are now. And then a little later in the show, I think you and I are going to argue, because you and I have shared a position on something, I believe, for many, many years in working in ministry. And I think that I just made the shift to the other side of the argument. So y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. We hope that you're enjoying today's episode. If you like the work that we are doing here at Forte Catholic, we could use your financial support. We are a Catholic nonprofit organization, so we literally run off of generous donations from people like you. I think I've heard that somewhere else, but we're going to steal it. So everything that we do here is from the generosity of our donors. We would love if you could join on our monthly donation team, whether it's $5 a month, $20 a month, $100 a month, anywhere in between, more or less, whatever. We could use your help. ForteCatholic.com/donate. Also, if you just want to give a one-time donation, be like, hey, I like this Bartlett guy. Let's send $10 their way. So we could really use your help. That's ForteCatholic.com/donate. It'll buy you an amount of time out of purgatory that we can't contractually say what it is, but you'll find out whenever you die. And also, until you're dead, it'll help on your taxes, because we are a 501c3 organization. The government likes us too. So thank you guys so much for your continued support of the show, and enjoy the rest of today's episode. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll. That is Chris Bartlett, the president of Ablaze Ministries. Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Taylor.
Mr. President. Hey, you did it. You became a president of something. All it took for me to do it was just to call myself that. Someone else gave you that title.
I know. This is like a UN gathering, because there's two presidents. The president of Forte Catholic meets with the president of Ablaze Ministries to stop the war on mediocrity.
The last president meeting that I think I saw was Biden and Putin. Pretty sure, based on our last conversation, you're Biden and I'm Putin. I'm pretty sure that's
because I'm older.
Sentences are difficult for you, and I'm a bully, so I think it fits pretty well, actually.
Moving on. I don't like being Biden is Catholic.
About as Catholic as you and I.
By virtue of his baptism. And yes. Moving on. Okay, so I became president of Ablaze Ministries. For those of you who don't know,
you defended yourself from being called Biden and had nothing to say about me being the worst dictator alive. Please,
whatever. Dude, he took pictures in his 60s with his shirt off, riding bareback on a horse.
I know.
I'm like,
that's like me looking at the pictures of me in college. We're the same.
Okay, let's avoid controversy for the sake of the kingdom, Taylor.
Yeah, that's what we do here. Okay, share your great news now.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Ablaze Ministries seeks to transform the church through mission to youth. We do it in three very particular ways: through reach, teach, and serve. We do outreach to young people, hand them tacos on Taco Tuesday and different things. These are unchurched kids, largely. There's a lot of language in that youth center that we have down in Bryan.
A lot of asterisks.
A lot of asterisks. Yes. We teach, so we empower parishes. Most parishes, if they have youth ministry in the parish, it's volunteer led. 85% of parishes don't have a paid youth minister. And so we seek to empower, launch, or stabilize teams of youth ministry to do that mission to youth in parishes. And then we serve, reach, teach, serve. We have missionaries that actually go into parishes to do the work of mission to youth, middle school, high school, and campus ministry. And so I became president, about 10 weeks ago. It's been a transition, but I would say a rather smooth transition. One of the coolest things that happened, Matt, the former president, and Matt, you used to be a part of Ablaze, and in your heart of hearts, you're still just a little bit a part of Ablaze, because we still love you to bits. And he went on a sabbatical, kind of a soul searching, a walkabout, if you will. And for about a month.
We're bringing up the Native Americans again. A walkabout, you say?
A walkabout. Isn't that an Australian thing?
I don't know.
Okay. Just neither do I. Clearly, neither do I. But he took a month off, and before he took that month off, he had to delegate so many things out. And when he came back, it was a short time after that the Lord made clear that it was time for him to shift his role. And so because everything had been delegated out already, like it was the perfect transition in regards to those aspects. Like everything was already delegated out. So he's like, okay, Chris, here you go. Here's the keys to the Ablaze Kingdom. And most everything's already been delegated out. So if you have any questions, you can talk to this person for this and this person for that. And you already took over these pieces. And so the logistical transition has been very smooth. And I still meet with Matt on a regular basis. He's still founder and very invested in the organization. And he does things like tech that I'm just not good at. And so we are grateful to his consulting along the way. But yeah, I am now El Jefe, the Presidente. And there's a lot of different pieces to juggle. But there's also a lot of fun that I enjoy doing with vision casting and galvanizing people and inspiring them into multiplying the mission. So, yeah, I am the president.
Teach, and what was the
serve?
It's reach, teach, and serve. It doesn't rhyme, so I didn't remember it. So we got.
You want reach, teach, and preach? Is that what you want?
Yeah, that's what I was remembering in my mind. I'm like, that's not what he said, though.
Yeah, reach, teach, serve.
I zoned out after the third one didn't rhyme. So, just an observation. So
this is like a Sharapa homily. Be done.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So reach the tacos. I'm gonna do the pushback, and you're gonna tell me why it's working. Because this was a big transition after I left. So it's Ablaze has become a different place than where I worked, and you and I had talked, and it's just like I didn't know what Ablaze was, and you actually shared these words, and I remembered two of them, the two that rhymed, and. One of the big things that has happened is like when I worked there, it was one of the like the core value. I don't know if it was the actual core value, but like one of the very important things was like we were teaching and training, kind of that second part, teaching and training young youth ministers to be youth ministers, right? There were seasoned people in youth ministry that were teaching and training and like empowering these young people, 20 to 25 years old, 30 years old, if they stayed for a while, to take over a youth ministry program, right? Because we had quote unquote done it before successfully, right?
Yes. Yep.
And that was a big thing. And a big thing that we were trying to push was work ethic and professionalism, right? So we had an office. And one of the big things was like, with young people, getting some work ethic and like saying, hey, this is when we're meeting. And this is when the office opens. This is when you're expected to be there. This is when you're expected to work. You're supposed to get this work done this week. You did not get this work done this week. You did nothing this week because you weren't here. Like, we're just trying to help them be professional, right? So that was kind of this core value, and I really appreciated that, right? Now, all of those walls of all those offices are completely blown up in order to serve the asterisk teens, right? To give them tacos. So it's a very different mission than what I signed up for, right? But I think it could be a good mission, right? You're serving tacos. So I know that you're serving tacos on Taco Tuesday every day. You're serving hundreds of tacos every Tuesday. You're just letting people come in before school because there's a big middle school next door.
Yep. So SFA is right next door. And we've been, for the last 2 years, handing out tacos on Tuesday. And then last year we started doing open youth room, and we just started opening up that place a couple days after school. Because we do. Yeah, we knocked down some walls, and we tossed in a few couches, a rock band kit, and ping pong and pool, and just made a place for the young people to feel seen, known, and loved. And it's been a powerful ministry. Pope Francis talks about how we need to go to the margins, right? Reach out those that are in the margins. And there's a lot of young people that are unchurched, that are in the margins. And our call to evangelize doesn't always mean that we have to lead with a Bible verse or something like that. Sometimes we can lead with a taco. So honestly, the tacos, to be clear, are a evangelization tool. They're not the end. The goal isn't to hand out more tacos, which is about 400 a week. The goal is to actually capture hearts, and you can capture a heart through a taco.
Yeah, so I haven't been. I again, this was all after I left, so I don't know how it works. So I'm the outsider being like, okay, we used to do quote unquote real ministry. We used to teach kids in youth group, and now y'all are just handing out tacos and, sending them on their way. How are you evangelizing these people? Like, what is happening that actual good things are happening? And because what it can feel like, I think, is that these public school kids are coming to rob the Catholics of all their tacos, and then they go to school and they laugh at y'all on the way out. I think that was a lot of the feeling, I think, at the beginning. So yeah. I need to hear, what are y'all actually doing? Like, how do you have those conversations? Because you're not like, have you heard of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? While you put salsa on their taco, right?
Sure.
But I don't know. It seems to be working because y'all are putting resources and time and energy into this. How does it work? And how are they not laughing at you when they leave?
Great. Yeah. So most of the tacos are handed out after school, not before school. And so that gives them more of a bandwidth to be able to be journeyed with, to hang out for a little bit. There are a few teens last year that just ran in, grabbed a taco, and ran back to campus to catch their bus. 2 tacos and a soda, and they'd be out the door. But there was a core that started coming on a regular basis, including the days in which we weren't handing out tacos, the open youth room times. And that's where we really accompany them and journey with them. And so it's kind of like a sales funnel. You're going to have a big group of people that are interested in tacos. And then you say, how was your week? Oh, it's good to see you again. What's your name? Welcome back. And then all of a sudden the funnel gets a little bit deeper, and you start investing in people in a different way. And they're starting to share things and journey. And then they're coming not because they want a taco, but because they want to see one of our missionaries or one of the volunteers. They want to be loved, right? And so then they start paying attention to some of the other things. Why do you do what you do? Well, because I care about you. And why do you care about me? Well, because Jesus loves me and I want to share that love with you. And Jesus loves you and I want to share that love with you. And so we've had some of those conversations. One of the coolest stories is we still have in that office space, we still have a room dedicated to prayer. And one of the young people are like, what's in that room? And so we open up the door and there's a kneeler and just a couple of prayer chairs. It's like, okay, what's that? Well, that's a kneeler. Well, what's it for? It's for prayer.
Did you have to pay extra for a prayer chair? You couldn't have just ordered a regular chair?
Oh, once you pray in a chair, it's just outside of Texas A&M. So once you've done something twice in the chair, it's tradition. And so it has to be a prayer chair forever now.
Okay. I'm not going to say anything I just thought of. You continue, please, talking about your ministry.
Okay, great. So anyways, and so it's like, well, can you teach me how to use it? And it's like, yes. And so we're teaching this kid how to use a kneeler.
Oh,
the kneeler. Gotcha. Yeah. For prayer, and it was just, we answer the question they ask, not the next question, because we recognize that like the road to Emmaus is our model for this ministry. And it was Jesus. And he was like, tell me more about what you guys experienced over these last few days. And they're like, have you not heard? And Jesus literally has holes in his hands. It's like, yes, he's heard, but he's like, go on. Please
have you not heard?
Yeah, come on now. I see you. Yeah. And so, this idea, so often, a lot of what the church does is a Sermon on the Mount approach to ministry. But the call to evangelization, the new springtime evangelization, the heart of some of what the Holy Father has said and done, the way he's modeled it by washing the feet of people in prison during Holy Thursday liturgies and things like that, calls us to go out into the margins and to meet people where they're at and journey with them, and then invest in the few that respond and overinvest in the few that deeply respond. So we've got a young person that just talked to his father 2 weeks ago about getting baptized. And we're going to journey with that young man to be able to get him baptized. We've had other ones that have talked about, hey, yeah, my son hasn't been baptized yet when they're coming to pick him up. Or no, not baptized, hasn't received his sacraments outside of baptism. Neither has his little sister. What would we do to get him First Holy Communion? And we're able to have these conversations with people, all because we started some foil wrapped tortilla and meat. You know what I mean? Like, it's a powerful, powerful tool of loving people right where they're at.
That's great. My favorite thing that you said in all of that was one sentence that you just passed right by it, and it was gold. So I'm gonna be the miner, and I'm gonna help mine for the gold,
dig, brother.
When you said you answer the question that they're asking, not the next one. I think so many people, when it comes to evangelization, get excited that they're finally evangelizing, that they overdo it. And like, I am so excited that I just learned this new thing about this new topic. And I'm going to share it with you when all you said, hey, what time's Mass on Sunday? And I'm like, did you know that in the New Testament, there's this connection to the Old Testament and Moses was the first of this? And they're just like, what the hell? I don't care, right? And you're just like, what question did they ask? What time is Mass on Sunday? Oh, 7, 9, and 11. I go to 11. You can come sit next to me if you'd like to, right? Like that's the question that they asked, right?
Yep.
So I like that a lot. Answer the question that they ask, not gush out all the information that you're excited about, because your excitement will make them not excited at all.
Well, and it wasn't a sprint to Emmaus. They walked that journey. I imagine if someone had a limp, that Jesus would have slowed down his walk. I don't think Jesus would have healed the person so that the guy could have walked faster.
I think he would have been like, I was crucified yesterday. I'm not limping. Chill out, dude. You just have a bum knee. It's all right.
Here's some rollerblades. Keep up.
Jesus being like, oh, I'm so tired of walking slow. I heal your knee in the name of me. And then they just walk normal.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next part, we got reach and then we got teach. So this is probably the part that I understand the most because it's the one thing that was similar to when I was there, right? Teaching youth ministers. Most of the time when I was there, it was mostly we would partner with parishes to be their youth ministry team. I think we got up to like 8, 9 parishes at some point at the height of it, right? And now it's one parish, right? That Ablaze is working with. So it's just a very different thing. So now you're partnering more with dioceses to train. The shift has been more of a, we're not going to do the ministry, we're going to help you do the ministry. So what are some of the big things that you've like, what are your big focuses on the teach portion?
Yeah, so we're serving. So we created a program called Ablaze Connect, and what Ablaze Connect does is it partners with parishes to journey with them to be able to revive or build or sustain a youth ministry program, and really a sense of mission to youth. So we actually encourage them to change the line item in their budget from youth ministry programming or high school formation to mission to youth high school. Why? Because if you're cutting budget and you're like, okay, we want to cut this budget by 50%, let's cut 50% of our investment in mission to youth. It starts to change the language and they start to recognize the purpose of those funds and different things like that. So we're really trying to transform parish visions and things of that nature. But we're working with 13 parishes there. So we only have one parish currently that we have missionaries in, but we've got 13 parishes that we've partnered with, and we've got one-on-one coaching with those parishes and things like that. And so we seek to launch youth ministry through a 5-step process that really builds a vision, builds a team, then creates
Step
the moments
1,
of
think of 3 words. 2 of them must rhyme.
and then the third one, whatever you can choose. Yeah. What if we put serve in the middle? Would that reach, serve, teach? I don't know. What haiku? So there you go.
You sneezed. Reach or teach. God bless you.
Good. But it's a process. People aren't outsourcing the role of ministry. They're insourcing it through our consultation, through our partnership. And that's something that they're like, so are you going to come and do the ministry? Are you going to no, you're not outsourcing it. You're insourcing it. And we're here to help draw out the gifts that exist at your parish, because I don't know the parish, but I know God. And God does not desire a poor formation experience for any of his children anywhere. So I know that for their particular parish, God has a plan.
I would say from results based only, he that is what he desires, because that's what happens in most places.
So there's an imperfect element in a lot of parishes, and that's humans. And humans are in desperate need of Jesus because we're sinners. And so, yeah, unless your parish secretary is Mary, the mother of God, then there's going to be some imperfections, unless your pastor is, Jesus Christ himself,
Well, he is at certain points of the day.
In persona Christi. Yes, absolutely. In the person of Christ. But there's definitely, anyways, don't even get me started. Pray for your priests. They signed up to become pastors. They didn't sign up to be CEOs of these $1 million organizations, corporations, and things like that. And I know many, many priests that hunger for the ability to do what they studied in seminary, not be HR and be CEO and CFO and fundraisers and all the other things. So yeah.
You just listed all the things that you do as president. That's very funny to me. The other thing,
then pray for me as well. Yeah,
I think you should be stripped of the title of president for one thing that you have said on this show.
Do it.
I wasn't even sure you were going to come back now that you're the president. You know how this show is. You could get fired as president, but I didn't even say anything. I didn't even make you say something. You said one thing that proves that you're not a good Catholic leader. You have Mary, the mother of God, working at your church, and you made her the secretary? That's the worst leadership decision I've ever heard in my entire life. You have her as the secretary. She could be doing so many other things at the parish. You're like, I want you to answer the phones and take my messages. What's wrong with you?
So little do you know, or maybe much do you know, the secretary is the front line of most parishes. So when someone comes and the secretary is like, oh, you need a baptism? Are you married in the church? No. Well, then we can't get you. Have a good day. Instead of, what? You want to baptize your baby? That's amazing. What's the baby's name? Oh, I bet the baby's adorable. Our Jesus is going to love this baby. You know, like, do you see how putting Mary in that role is actually putting our best foot forward as a Catholic
My
church?
baby didn't even need baptism. He just did it because so that you guys would do it.
By his cousin John. It was all in-house. Yeah. We didn't need no paperwork.
All right. Well, good defense. I still think you're dumb, but good defense nonetheless.
Thank you. I get to hold on to the title president for one more day.
One more day until this releases. Reach,
Yes.
teach, and now serve each. I don't know anything about ceviche, so tell me about this third pillar.
Serve. I mean, Taylor, you do know serve. This was your role. It's very similar to what you did back when you were at Ablaze. And so it's parishes have now missionaries that we send to them, and they do the work of mission to youth at the parish, middle school, high school, and campus ministry. And yeah, it's amazing when you set the mission context and they're able just to run with it. But similar to Ablaze Connect, the teach part, they're also called to multiply the mission, right? And I think that's something all of us as disciples are called to do, is to multiply the mission, which is in some ways called evangelization. In some other areas, it's training and empowering. But really for these missionaries, it's also modeling. So they model the work of good outreach to young people, of good accompanying young people, and building disciples out of young people. And it's a gift, man. These young people are way more creative and way more enthusiastic, and they have way more energy than I am in my 40s or whatever. And so partnering with the young church brings life to the church.
Good. I like it. That is all.
Taylor approved.
I will let you remain president. We'll see what the board of directors has to say after one of them listens to this.
Well, good. Well, hi to that one.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, you're a tenth of our listenership. We appreciate you being here.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and whenever we come back, we might argue. Don't go anywhere. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, what are you doing? Forte Catholic on YouTube. Not only are there full-length episodes of this show in video form, but also we have other projects going on there. One of our newer ones is called Catholic Prayers, where I share some of my favorites, some of the ones that you might know, some of the ones you might not have ever heard of before. It's a new series we just got started, with more to come. We also have our Catholic Perspective series, where we look at some of our favorite things from pop culture, movies, TV shows, books, that sort of thing. Our most recent one was on Jen Follweiler's new comedy special, also on YouTube. We also talked to our friends over at Pints with Jack about C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity. So much going on our YouTube channel. Head on over, hit subscribe, watch some of the videos. Thanks. Enjoy the last segment of today's show. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am the president, and that is the president. And we're going to have a presidential debate, I believe. I'm going to set up this premise. It'd be so funny if you just decided that you agreed with me, because both of us have worked in ministry for a very long time. We share that in common. Both of us also have kids that are junior high age or older. You have been doing this a slightly longer than I have. So this is going to be similar to a conversation that Catherine Whitaker and I had about a month ago on the show, where she was kind of being the parenting guru for me. We talked about my son being in junior high for the first time. Okay. Similar context, but different enough that I think it warrants a conversation.
Great.
One, I want you to share. So you've been working in ministry enough. Most of your ministry time has been working as a parish youth minister. The majority of your years, was as a parish youth minister.
Yes.
Was there a Catholic school in the region of where you were the youth minister? Like, did a lot of your kids did a lot of the kids from the parish go to Catholic school?
In my most recent edition, yes.
Okay. what percentage of the Catholic school kids came to youth group when they weren't required to come to youth group?
When they weren't required to come to youth group?
Typically when they're required, when they have to do like confirmation class or something, right?
Right.
When they're not required, what percentage on average of Catholic school kids come to youth group?
So the same percentage of public school kids that they come when they're not required, right? But
0.
but in our diocese, sacramental prep, direct sacramental prep, like confirmation classes, it should be in addition to regular formation. And that regular formation for Catholic school kids, the diocese counts the theology classes that they experience at the school as that formation. So they get the formation check mark by going to the Catholic school. Whereas the public school kids, they need to go to youth group on a weekly basis. But when you're having the Sunday night youth group and then like the Wednesday night or the once a month confirmation classes, then all the Catholic school kids and the public school kids come together for the sake of sacramental formation on that regard. So it was a small percentage. I mean, to be completely honest, I would say that of the kids in confirmation class, the teens that were going through confirmation prep that were at Catholic school, we would see probably 25% of them at youth group in a given month and probably 15% of them on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So we'd have some pop-ins, but for the most part, yeah. But retreats and service projects and summer events and things like that, we would see a little bit higher level of engagement because it was something fun or a little bit more unique or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's pretty similar. That's the longest way you could have answered that question, but you gave the answer nonetheless. About 10 to 20, 10 to 15, 10 to 20%, right? I think that's very normal. Like I've had the same experience, both as I was the campus minister at St. Joseph's here locally. I was the youth minister. I was the director. I was the high school youth minister, the junior high youth minister, and the campus minister simultaneously for about 6 months. That was a fun period. But I've experienced it, right? And for the
that's
most
where
part,
all your hair ran off your head. Yeah, like, I'm officially bald.
Oh no, it was gone before that. But that's when this turned gray. The beard absolutely turned gray during that period.
Yeah.
So I would say it's pretty similar. Like most of our Catholic school kids, like I was the campus minister. I think I was doing a pretty good job, right? Like we were taking. They had their theology classes. We're also doing days reflection. We're doing retreats. We're doing campus. We're doing. It wasn't tacos after school, but they're coming to our room for lunch. Like we're doing ministry for them, just like I was doing in youth ministry on Sundays, right?
Yes.
So much of the stuff on Sunday nights is basic, and like they know the basics because they go to Catholic school, right? So,
yep.
But there's been this huge pushback, I think, from youth ministers of like, the Catholic school kids should be at youth group, right? Like, why aren't the like a cream of the crop, some of our best kids, why aren't they coming to youth group? Why aren't they involved in our youth group, right? And I that's the camp that I've been in for most of my ministry career because I was on that side of it, of just like, the Catholic kids should be coming. Theology class is different than youth group. It's more, youth group's more communal. They're learning how to live in community. They're not just learning from a textbook. They're actually, hopefully having some, I've even heard it said that like, I've heard people go as far as to say, lives aren't changed, hearts aren't changed in theology class. They are at youth group. And I'm like, first of all, that's BS because hearts have absolutely been changed in theology class. And I've been to your youth group and 100% of the people's lives aren't being changed, right? Your youth group, you were very good. I've been to most youth groups, maybe 10 to 15% of their hearts are being changed. It's just, there's so much similarities between the two of them, I guess is kind of where I'm landing at now. And I was on the phone the other day with a mutual friend of ours who works at our parish. And he's like, oh, so he was just assuming that my son is going to go. They have a new youth group. My wife works in the formation department at our parish. And there are new youth ministers, and they're having a 5th and 6th grade youth group. And they're just like, oh yeah, when Chris comes on Wednesday, I'm like, I don't think he's coming on Wednesday. Why? Because I'm a realist. This is the part that I brought up a lot with Catherine, right? Just not in regards to the youth group, but I think the big thing that most youth ministers wouldn't just realize without talking to me and my wife first, both of us work. And both of us work in ministry, so both of us work on a lot of night times.
Yeah,
where like
Wednesday in particular, and also weekends. Yep,
Wednesday night, Sunday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Monday night. Our family is booked up. We have family stuff on Monday night. One of my girls dances on Monday night. I host trivia every other Tuesday night. My wife has a Bible study thing for work every other Tuesday night. My wife works full time one Wednesday a month. I have pastoral council one Wednesday a month, and then we have random things one Wednesday a month. Every day, my son is at football practice after going to school. Thursdays, my wife has another work thing like every other week. Thursdays is Tuesday nights, my girls have AHG. Like, we're essentially Monday through Thursday, we are completely booked up. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights for us are available. So if the youth group just said, and like I've gotten this complaint before, and as a youth minister, I brushed it off. I was like, come on, you can make it work, right? You know what would work for my family right now? Youth group for my son on Sunday night. You know what does not work for my family right now? Youth group, the same youth group for my son on Wednesday. It is particularly for us in our family situation right now, it is not feasible for him to go there. And so we look like I hope jokingly earlier called me a bad father. I think we're doing pretty good. Like, I think we're doing a decent job in raising our family. And yet we are now the bad family to the youth ministers, right? We're the Catholic school family. Oh, you think you're too good? You think your kid's too Catholic enough to go to school? I was like, no, I'd love for him to go to youth group, but it's on Wednesday night. Y'all made that choice. And like, it's not, I'm not trying to change it. I'm not trying to be a jerk, right? I'm just saying, like, look, it's just not for us this year. We'll start going maybe next year, or maybe next semester, or maybe next year. Wednesdays aren't as crazy, or I doubt it because of the work that we're both in, right? But like, maybe when he gets older, he starts going on Sundays. But like, you and I and almost everybody in ministry have been pushing against people like me, or the idea of people like me currently. And I'm here to tell you, it's very practical. So I want to hear from you as the ministry person and as the father of, how many kids you have? 18 these days? How many kids you got?
Still 6.
Oh, I thought it was 18. So you have a lot of kids too. So you've dealt with this as a father, as a parent, as a ministry leader. I just put it all out to you there. Ready, set, go. I have no question for you.
It's a complicated situation, right? But if we prioritize people over programming, then all of a sudden we say, okay, is your son being journeyed with? Right? And if the answer is no, then absolutely there needs to be some sort of accompaniment from the parish and things of that nature. But Taylor, you lead sessions for your parish, so I don't think they need to worry about whether or not your kids have access to quality formation, because the domestic church is strong, right? And to support the local parish at the expense of your domestic church is a dangerous precedent to set or demand to require. And we see this in a lot of different ways, but a lot of the required pieces surrounding sacramental prep and things like that. I remember that there was one point where they said, hey, you haven't been to a baptismal class in 2 years, and you need to attend a baptismal class in order to get your 4th child baptized. Great. I have a master's degree in theology. I went to the person in charge of the baptismal class, and I said, I have to be there. So why don't you just let me teach the class so that you can have Saturday morning off? Because I'm qualified to do that, right? I'm qualified to teach the class.
You and I are different people. I walked up to the parish. I said, I'm not going. And they said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I texted the priest directly and scheduled the baptism on Saturday.
And it was fascinating because the person who was the secretary at the church at the time was one of the girls who used to bully you. So immediately you took your shirt off.
I thought it was Mary, the Mother of God. We're on different wavelengths here.
Yeah. We're mixed metaphors. No, but then the person looked at me and said, yeah, and he just signed off on the thing. He goes, you don't have to go to the class. I'm like, there it is, but I just want to say that again, like, you should not sacrifice your domestic church for the sake of your local parish. That's a reality. And sometimes the church is too demanding, and sometimes the family is too, I don't want to say dysfunctional or whatever, because I don't think your family is dysfunctional, but I do know other families
I think it might be.
that can't prioritize getting to mass on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a problem. And so what do? Oftentimes we create the only programming towards the lowest common denominator. And that's where I would really encourage or suggest tiered programming. And maybe tiered programming exists for your son. And the weekend retreat that comes up and there's no sports games or there's no family events or whatever. And you're like, that's on a Saturday and Sunday. That's when he's free. That's when we're free. Right. We can send him to that retreat and he participates in youth ministry through that side door instead of through the main door. And I think we as a church have to be okay with that and say, you know what? I know you're not coming on Wednesdays, but we're having a lock-in coming up and we'd love to see you there. Great. Are you going to play Rocket League? Because he's kind of a bully, whatever. Like, let's go. Let's go. And that's, I think that, so there has to be a variety of programming, but if the only ministry that happens towards a child or a family is a program on a single night and they're not available that night, then that's not what the church is supposed to be. Like, right. Mom has cancer, so we missed formation last year. Well, you have to attend 2 years prior to receiving the sacrament, so you also missed your chance at the sacrament. No! Why? Because what the parish should be doing is journeying with that family, that domestic church, while mom's going through cancer, because that's really hard. And attending a class has got to be lower on the totem pole. So you've got something higher on the totem pole because of the way your family runs right now. I think that's okay.
Yeah. Wow. This isn't what I was expecting. Thought you were going to call me a bad parent for the second time in an hour. I think this is a new thing. Like, there didn't used to be ministry for 5th and 6th graders on Wednesday night. It's a new program. And like, there is tiered program for the high school, which I think their lives, I hear lives get even busier later on, right? Like, there's a Wednesday night and Sunday night option for them, just not for, my kid, which I'm not complaining about. It's a new thing. They're trying it out. Great. More power to them. Right. But it is. I think there's still just some guilt and no guilt internally. I don't have any guilt internally. Like, there's no guilt coming from me because I'm just such a realist. I'm just a realist. Like, more than anything else, like more than a person of faith, more than a bald man, more than a fat man. Like, I'm just a realist, right? Where I'm just like, I look at our calendar and I'm like, there are 8 things asking us for us to be there on Wednesday. We can only physically be there for maybe 3. There are 2 of us that can drive. And if the timing works out just right, I could be 10 minutes late to one and we can work out 3 things on a Wednesday, which is what we did last week. I can't add another one. I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't add another one, right? But there is pressure. I think, like, both because my wife works there, of like, oh, you're not even going to support this thing that you're helping support.
You're in charge of? Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no, because you actually don't own all of our time because
I lived in that town 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, Wednesday night was just breaking out of the sacred zone. So it used to be Sunday night and Wednesday night, no sports, no after school activities if they can be avoided, nothing like that, because Wednesday night was a church night. And now everything is on the table. You can schedule whatever you want, whenever you want. And so there is it takes a village piece that's missing from our society as well, that makes it, I think, the enemy by design, more difficult to be Catholic in the modern era.
I agree with you. So I think my only takeaway is Chris gave me the thumbs up to live my life how I'm living my life. That's what I'm taking away from this. Was there anything else you wanted to share? Because that's what I'm taking. Is that correct?
So long as you raise your kids in a way that makes youth ministry something that's secondary and not primary in their formation experience, then I'm good with that. But if their only formation, the only time they pray is when they're with the youth group, then you need to rearrange your life so that they can get up there on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because, like, as they're getting older, it's like, we're not teaching courses to our kids, right? Like, in the same way that I teach a course to the adults of the parish. Like, we're not gathering for a foundations course at my house, right? But right. You talked earlier, like, if there's not somebody journeying with him, if there's not somebody accompanying, it's like, I'm accompanying him. My wife is accompanying him, right? But I don't think he has another adult outside of our family, like extended family. I think the most clear ones are me and his mom, because we live here, right? And then, like, the extended family, that sort of thing, right? But he doesn't have, like, a youth minister figure in his life yet. But, like, neither did I until 8th, 9th grade. Like, he's still young. He's still. But
you look at coaches and you look at friends' parents, and you're like, what is the tribe that we're surrounding ourselves with? And if that tribe is all got ashes on their forehead on Ash Wednesday, that's a pretty good tribe. And if they don't, but they're still trying to grow him in virtue, like I'm thinking about coaches in particular, right, that's still a step in the right direction.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And, like, clearly I love the sports, and like, I don't know. It's just the realist and the balance thing was just put into me at a young age. Cause, like, I was a very good athlete. So athletics were a priority for me. And I think for a lot of my life, they were the priority, right?
Sure.
But even when they were the priority, I never missed Mass on Sunday. I was still being like the basic Catholic, right? Maybe I wasn't the super, all in youth group kid. I'm coming to put up chairs and tear down chairs, and I'm there for 6 hours, which I was later on in my, my faith journey. But at the beginning, it's like, look, the thing I care about most is putting this ball through that hoop and catching this weird shaped ball and running it into the end zone before somebody tackles me. Like that was my priority, but that didn't mean like, okay, God should be the priority. Okay. I was 11, like, leave me alone. Right. Like, and that's kind of how I'm like feeling with my son. It's like, even for him, it's like the things I care about right now is him acting correctly at school, because that's been a thing. Right. Representing himself well, representing our family well, representing God well. I want him to perform well at sports and enjoy that time, because that was a big part of my life. And he really cares about it too. I want him to care about his faith. Like, we go to church on Sunday. We're around faith stuff all the time because of our community and the stuff that my wife and I are involved in. It's like, I think we're good for now. That's where I'm at. And other people are disagreeing, but not Chris Bartlett, because you're my friend.
Well, and if the good news is God isn't only in the classroom on Wednesday evenings, or at the youth group on Wednesday evenings. Wherever your son is, God is present there too. And acknowledging that as a family, whether it's at mealtime or after a practice or before a practice, like, how are you going to glorify God on the field this week? That's a great question for the car drive, Or you could listen to the weird Christian music radio and just kind of sway back and forth, whatever. Like, there's ways to go ahead and incorporate God into the fabric of life instead of compartmentalize God to only on the parish campus, because the parish was not made to be a black hole, but rather a springboard.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but you ended well. So I'm going to give you one final, what a save. What a save. What a save.
Not 3 times, Taylor. Now this is bullying. And we're back to the start.
What a save. I'm Taylor Schroll. That's Chris Bartlett. We're both presidents. I'll be back next week. He'll be back at some point. See ya. Thanks so much for watching and listening today. We hope that you had a blast listening and watching with us. Chris is a great person, and I like him quite a lot. He's actually been one of the people behind the scenes most supportive of the work that I do. He's gotten me booked for a few speaking and leading worship events here over the next few months, and I'm very grateful to him. So thank y'all for listening. Don't all the things. Subscribe, donate, show your support. We love you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.